What's going on, everybody? What's up, Mark? How are you
What's
doing
up?
today?
I'm good, man. That was a cool countdown.
You like that?
Yeah, there's music and stuff. I was
Oh,
dancing,
yeah. I saw
pumping
you
me up.
bumping your head in the background there. I
Yeah,
saw
it's
it. Saw
cool.
it. Well, welcome everybody to our normally it'd be our Tuesday live stream, but I actually had something going on yesterday. I had to reschedule, and I appreciate you, Mark, being able to jump on today and just be willing to share some value and talk to the audience here about some team building stuff. You and I have been able to work together now for quite some time. What, probably going on 3 years now, I guess. Maybe 4, 5,
4,
4 years.
4.
Goes
I
by
could see
quick.
that special to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, October 2018 is when
2018. Oh
when
my
we
gosh,
met.
I cannot believe. So it'll be 5 years this year. Holy
Yeah,
smokes, Mark.
no.
Dang. Well, very cool. Like I say, I've had the pleasure to work with Mark, and and even I mean, you've been always a great agent, but I mean, back then you weren't doing nearly the amount of business that you've done here in the last couple years. But then last year, I mean, you had an amazing year as well. And but the coolest thing is, in addition to seeing like your growth, is just seeing like the unique business that you've built, like this team that you built. Like I think that the culture that you've built, like the branding that you've built around it, it's like nothing I've ever seen before, with any other real estate teams. And so that's why I wanted to bring you on today and just share kind of just a little bit about your journey, and like take us back to kind of I'd say a few years ago, and why you got started in real estate, and then kind of like how that transpired into becoming a good real estate agent and then a good team leader, and all of that. But before we even do that, Mark, just share real quick, because you've also got a family, and you got some pretty cool stuff that you're into as well. I know that you're you came from a industry of like acting and all that. So tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about yourself, your family, your personal side of things, and then we'll jump into the business side.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for having me on. I feel like this is pretty. It feels weird if people are watching right now because we do this actually quite a bit. Just talking.
Nobody's watching. Don't worry, Mark.
All right, nobody's
There's only
watching.
like 50 people right now, but you're good.
Yeah, it's just me and you. No, speaking of, it actually doesn't make me anxious because I came from before I sold real estate, I was a professional stage actor. So Broadway shows, musicals, I sang, I danced, I acted, all that stuff. So I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri. Go Chiefs! Huge fan, massive fan. I have a Chiefs stamp, Chiefs helmet back there.
There you
Um,
go.
yeah. So, and then I moved to New York when I was 18 to be a professional actor as a kid, and I had a really good run there for a long time. Hey, Donna, I had a good run there for a long time. About 20 years, I was a professional actor. That's where I met my wife, Sarah. We met in New York. We did the national tour of The Wedding Singer together, the
Oh, wow.
musical The Wedding Singer. Yeah. So we met there, and then we each toured separately for about 5 years on different shows. I did the Grease the musical and 9 to 5 the musical. She did Shrek the musical, and then we moved to Orlando to work for Walt Disney World as actors. So we came down here. We did Finding Nemo the musical, Beauty and the Beast, the Hoop-Dee-Doo review for those big Disney fans. And then about 3 years into that, it was a really cool job and we loved it. We loved working for the Walt Disney World Company. We just kind of, it felt like it was a bridge job. It felt like for us personally, not for everybody, but for us personally, it felt like, okay, this is a nice stepping stone to what will be next. And we didn't really know what that was. And real estate, I was always curious about, just like everybody else. I watched House Hunters and I watched all those shows. I just felt like I feel like in the barrier of entry, it was like, what, 2 weeks, get your license? I was like, well, even if I suck at it, like I'm in and out in 2 months, I can just quit. So my wife and I got our license with our good friend Rob Stack, and we were all three still working at Disney full time, and we started talking to everybody in our show about buying a house, and turns out they all used us. We were really good at converting our sphere into clients with I mean, we were trained well, we had great mentors as well, so that helped a lot. But it just naturally kind of happened where I think between the three of us, we had our own little team with it. We were on a different team in a different brokerage. I think we sold, I don't know, 35 homes our first year, and the second year we sold to all three of us 70 plus homes or something. So I sold 32 myself, and Sarah sold, I think, 23. And at that point, we just felt like we needed a change. Sarah and I, she was liking real estate, but she wasn't loving the selling side of it, and I was liking real estate, and I wasn't liking we were using dot loop at the time. Like, I'm so confused. Like, I don't even know what addendums I'm supposed to get. I just talk to people. I don't know what all this stuff means. So when we came over, we met you. Obviously, we came over to a different brokerage, and it was just us two. It was
Yep.
just two. I was doing all the selling. She was doing all the back end work, but we shared all of our clients. She wasn't really a transaction coordinator. She just took over from contract on, which is a transaction coordinator. And then a few months later, Rob joined us. We created a team. I made a joke. I was actually talking to somebody yesterday when we're like, "You want to join our team?" He's like, "What do you provide?" And we're like, "We don't know." I don't know. We got a cool cartoon logo. You can be a superhero, and this logo is pretty cool, right? Like, that was really, and we'll buy you some signs and some lock boxes. It started out. We did it in our living room over a beer, and it was really relaxed. And he came on board, and then another one, Jonathan Spiegel came on, and then it just slowly kind of turned into a slow burn situation. Our good friend Jennifer is in Louisville, Kentucky. And she was like, "Hey, I think can I join you guys?" And with EXP, that's who we're with. It was a really easy transition. She just joined our team in Kentucky. So she became our first satellite office. And again, there's no office. It's her basement,
Yeah.
So that happened. And then when COVID hit, obviously, a lot of people got into the business, and Sarah and I were pretty determined not to bring on new agents just because that's a lot of responsibility and stress. We didn't have the structure or the training in place yet. And we felt an urge of that need in our market, and also with our friends in our sphere that we think, oh, I think they'd be good, but we don't train agents. We don't know what to do. So we took 2 months and built out a basic, it's grown since then, but a nice structure. We use an app called Trainual. We built out a bunch of do-it-yourself DIY videos on how to write a contract, how to lead gen, how to do stuff. Your videos are on there. I pulled from videos from all over the place, and we built a training structure. And in 2021, we added, a Nashville team, a Jacksonville team. For a minute, we had a New York and New Jersey team, and we just started adding people to the mix, and people became pretty successful with us. And we went from, in 2020, I think we sold 27 million, which is pretty good. And in 2021, we sold 67 million. And then in 2022, we sold 107 million. So it grew pretty fast. All of our agents are, just super talented, and they're all we run our team a little not different. Everybody gets to run it the way they want to run it and run their own. That's what's cool about real estate. It's your own perspective, right? What works for you is what works. The way it works for us is that all of our agents are extremely self-sufficient. We teach them how to hunt and teach them how to do their own thing, and basically create those relationships that will build a long-term business if they want it to be that. We have lead sources, but I mean, that's a whole nother podcast and video on how I feel about Google PPC and online leads. It works for a lot of teams, but for us, we haven't found that special sauce yet. I think the special sauce is just spending a lot of money on it, and I'd rather use that money for other resources personally. And our split is a lot lower than most teams as well. For that reason, to say, we're going to take less money, but we're going to provide you the essentials that you need, and then social media and branding, but leads and stuff, you should be able to, if you really want to be good at real estate, that you got to figure that out. We'll help you do it, but that's what you have to do. So that was a long story, and we're probably out of time. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, everybody, for tuning in. That was
hope you learned something.
No, that was awesome. I appreciate that. And that definitely like catches everybody kind of up to speed. Even myself, like some of that, was I didn't even know. So really cool though, to see the timeline, even just in these last like 3 years. Like I didn't realize you ramped up that quickly, that fast. Like I was like, I knew like, in 18 is when you joined. I don't know why in my head I didn't think it was 18, but in 18 when you joined with me, I was like, I knew that you was just kind of like you and Sarah, but it was like, now it's so crazy to think like not even, I mean, I guess it's not even full 5 years later that you've put all of these pieces together And now you've got, not only just an amazing local team, like you guys are crushing in the Orlando market, but
Yeah.
you've pieced together these satellite offices, kind of as you've called it, and you've been able to like do all that. So I want to unpack a lot of that. I want to,
Yeah.
ask you some deeper questions on kind of some of these different things that you mentioned. But that said, too, if anybody who's watching this, we got a lot of people on the stream right now. If you've got some, Mark's like, really?
I can't tell. I just
You
see
can't
Kyle's
tell. He just
face.
seems
This
like,
feels like a Zoom call.
if anybody has some questions for Mark and you want to throw them into the chat, specifically about teams, throw them in there. And I might not get to them right away, but I definitely will kind of look at the chat and see what has been asked, and I can ask your question to Mark. But that being said, I definitely have some a few of my own questions that I wanted to bring up. And so I think, because obviously I've run a team in the past as well, and and that's kind of the thing is like, everybody like thinks they want to get to having a team, or like or we think that's kind of like where you need to go as an agent eventually, right? But I'd be curious just to kind of know, like, your why, behind having a team. And now that you have a team, like, what's your why for carrying on the team, and
Sure.
like what's your ultimate goal like with the team?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. There's, I think every team leader can joke saying like, "Oh man, this would be way easier if I was just by myself."
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
yeah.
most people think that team leaders make a good amount of money and maybe the gross is more, but the net is not what it is, right?
Right.
Um, no, I think the big why. First of all, I love group projects. Like I've always liked, like whether it was in school, I feel more secure and more excited about something if I can flink with other people. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if that's just coming up with an idea or going somewhere, you know what I mean? Or driving, like a road trip's more fun if the back seat's full, right? So I've always enjoyed that, or team sport. I'm a huge sports fan. So like a team atmosphere is kind of the way my DNA is, the way I'm built. So I was on a team, and ultimately my wife makes fun of me that I'm not a great at taking notes. As an actor, you always get notes, and I have a reason behind that, but I don't know. I push back a lot, because I try to get a competitive edge on whatever I'm doing. Little backstory: when I was an athlete, I was never the biggest or the fastest or the strong enough. So I was like, well, how do I got to figure out a different way to compete than just like my physicality. And same with now real. And as an actor, I was like, how am I special? How am I different? And then as an agent, the same way. Um, so now I have that big why of trying to help as many people as possible on my team have that same competitive edge in a group format, right? I'm not going to come up with it on my own, but I really have an obsession with that. And after, when you help people buy and sell homes, and we help a lot of we help investors. Yes, that's part of, we're in the Orlando market, and me personally, I've helped investors, but it really is fulfilling to help a family move up, or a family, a family move, right? Um, so with that said, I think that the thing that I love about the team aspect of it is, we get to kind of do it all in a group forum as opposed to just like a one-on-one situation. And when I help like an agent actually help another person do that, I find like massive joy in it for some
Yeah.
reason. I don't know why. I just think that's super fulfilling. Or if an agent gets to go on a vacation and I'm a small part of that, or if they paid off all their debt, I'm a small part of that. I like to check in with all the agents to see what they're doing. If they, it's not all about money, right? It's about helping people. But if they have some kind of financial freedom that I've been a part of, that is just as fulfilling to me as helping somebody buy or sell a home. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my
Yeah.
basic why. I mean, I could talk about it for a while, but
Well, yeah, because I mean, I want to take people through the journey. I get a lot of agents who, most of the agents I would say that watch my channel are probably not yet team leaders. But I think that's why I wanted to ask you that question, because I think it's important to kind of start even like with the end in mind, and like, whether an agent even needs to go down the path of becoming a team leader.
yeah,
Because I think it is for some people, but I also think that you can be highly successful in real estate as an individual agent as
I do
well.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the confusion is, and maybe people get into it. I didn't, and this isn't to be like, this is me, but I think a lot of people do it so they don't have to sell real estate anymore, right?
Mhm.
So they can just like leverage themselves off and be like, now I can just hang.
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, that might be the case in the long run, but then you have to make so much money that you have to pay everybody else to do the jobs that you've created, right? So that, to me, that's not my end goal. I never want to be out of the industry or let things run when I'm like on the beach. I think that's a to me that's kind of a facade. I think that that's definitely an end goal for a lot of team leaders. For me personally, that's not where I want to be. I want to be extremely involved. I still sell a lot. Like, in fact, I led the team in sales the last 2 years. So I still want to be a part of it and still do all that stuff. So, I mean, it comes with a lot of stress with it, because real estate's kind of weird when you're a team leader. The way I look at it is that they're hiring me to be on my team because they're paying me,
Yep.
right? So they sell a house and their commission check, I get a part of it. So they pay me. I don't pay them. So to me, I always have this weird thing where I can't tell them what to do because they're not employees.
Yep.
They're a 1099 contractors through their brokerage. They pay me almost a subscription, right? A monthly subscription or whatever it might be to do that. So, and that right there that's a huge responsibility.
Yep.
You know, they're relying on me to make decisions with their money.
Yep.
And that's where that's the hardest part. Like, that keeps me up at night, not stressful, but I'm constantly like, it's a constant burn in my head of like, okay, this isn't working, or this I'm investing in this and this feels like it's kind of dead money and I'm just burning money. Or like, oh, I got that and half the people like it, half people don't. Do I need to get half of them to adopt it, or do I there's a constant guessing yourself of what you're supposed to be doing. Now other team leaders I know are like, this is what I'm doing, you're either in or you're out, right?
Yeah.
And that
Yep.
works too.
Yep.
But my personality is more group project as opposed to boss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but again, if you're a single agent, you're thinking about doing it, you know, you just have to have the end goal in place. What's the end goal? The more people around me that are happy, the happier I am, really,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I mean, I think to me too, like what I've, come to realize, and I want everybody to like hear that again, as far as like, where you just said, like, like, if your thought is like, I'm going to start a team so I can go like sit on the beach and like not ever have to do any work, like that's so like unrealistic. Like, I mean, I know tons of team leaders. And like, I mean, it might be like 1% of 1% of team leaders eventually build a business where it's like passive, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. And I know big team leaders, and it
Yeah.
is not passive, right? Like, so to build something
No.
that's passive is very difficult to do. And so the
Well,
way I look, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just real quick. I think that all those, when you're doing a transaction and all those conversations are happening with the cross agent or the inspector, or you're doing things when the client doesn't realize you're doing things. And sometimes you're like, I wish I could just call them and be like, I spoke an hour to the cross agent telling them blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
That's how I am as a team leader. The whole point is that we're doing all these things and making things happen for the agents, and they don't need to stress about it. But you add that on top of selling homes with people. Like, there's just a lot of behind the scenes work that nobody sees or understands and just appreciates. And that's the point of it, right?
Yeah,
But
for sure.
to make that passive, I'd have to hire 10 people.
Yeah.
And then I'm in the red. So that doesn't make a lot of sense,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I look at teams as like the reason why you would want to start a team if you're an individual agent is for efficiencies, right? Like, I mean, like
Yeah.
if you know you're skilled at something, right? Like, and you want to, focus on just doing X, Y, or Z, maybe that's lead generation, or maybe it's whatever, right? Like, you can do that, right? With a team, you got to have that team built out so that way you can just focus on what you're good at, but you still got to do what you're good at. Like, it's not you're building it because, it's a completely passive. You're doing it so you can focus on what you're good at, and it's efficiencies of like your resources, your money, and all that kind of stuff as well,
Right.
right? Like, it's a
Right.
lot better to, have to sign up for a, big subscription if you've got, 10 agents, who are contributing and like, bringing in income, and you can kind of, spread out and figure out where you want to spend your money, versus if you're an individual agent, it's really difficult to get some of these more expensive tools and things like that that you might want to do, or take advantage of some of these bigger, opportunities that you might want to pursue. And so from that standpoint, I mean, I think that's why somebody would want to start a team. But I'm so glad you brought up the fact that like, it's not like, oh, you're going to, go sit on the beach and like, it's not like that. Like, and I would say it's not even so much that like you even get a whole lot of, time freedom. It's more of like, you're going to work probably more so especially in the beginning when you're building
And
out
you're
that
building.
team,
Yeah.
until you maybe, in a couple years, few years, get the ability to, like, okay, now it's a little bit easier. So,
Right. Right.
very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, so, all right. So we talked about maybe just like some of the mindset stuff about, somebody who may want to be starting a team or going into a team. Now let's talk a little bit about like those formative years. Like you've decided you're going to do the team thing, and you're
Mhm.
really going to, make a go at it. You did mention like, kind of how you got started with like the very first agent, right? Like in your living room over a beer, right? Obviously things are very less formal back then, than they are
Yeah.
today. But like, what kind of transpired between maybe like those 2 years where it was like just Mark Raumaker starting this team, Mark and Sarah, and then now to where it's like, was there a specific like moment you can look back, or was it like an opportunity that you pursued, or just something that changed in your business that all of a sudden it was like, all right, things are clicking, like we are growing, we're doing more business now, like we are going to become this big team.
Yeah, I think the moment was when the pandemic hit mid 2020, and there was four of us, three in Orlando and one in Kentucky. And when we started, people started reaching out to us, and we thought we don't want to train new agents, we don't want to do that. And there was a reality where we kind of looked at the three agents producing, and they were all producing agents, but it was never going to be our cut is we do 70-30 split. So we take 30%. So it's very well known. It's not a secret.
Yeah.
Everybody's on it. So we thought like, well, if two of them decide to kind of have an off year because they're not that into it, or maybe they want to take a break from real estate because it's really stressful, that limits us quite a bit into having a team and what we provide. And we saw an opportunity of if we build a system out to train agents of basic real estate, and all the brokerages have good trainings, don't get me wrong, but I do think it's a little generic. For the most part, you can't really dive into the ins and outs of what's really happening. Um, we thought, let's build out this training system. So I researched crazy stuff and talked to a bunch of people, and I ended up using a platform called Trainual, which a lot of companies use. It's not a real estate
Mhm.
program at all. It's called a playbook, right?
Mhm.
And you can build out a process there, and you can embed videos, you can embed PDFs, you can embed all this stuff. So I just went through. It took me months, but I went through it and built it out. At night, at 10 o'clock at night, at whenever I had time, and I built out from the beginning to the end of like what's a commission split. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I use a lot of your videos on there
Yep.
because you can embed other people's videos, so you don't have to
Yep.
make it all yourself. You can
Yep.
just build it out, and then we have like a home squad buyer transaction, from how to do a consultation to then put them on a buyer market watch. So a basic like, and then all the way to you got to have a transaction. You send it to Sarah through our internal web, and so it was all this stuff. And once we did that, we realized we could actually, like, the word scale, which again, not coming
Mhm.
from the acting world, I didn't know what that meant. So I was like, oh, that's what that means. So we can duplicate things, and we can make. I don't have to be there all the time. I remember listening to a podcast, and it's very easy advice, but it said if you ever want to teach something, just video it once, and you'll never have to teach it again.
Yep.
Right. So I started doing that. I would just screen record. I used Loom. I would screen record writing a contract, writing a listing agreement, doing a CMA, and it's specifically for whatever market it is. And then when we added other markets, I just, whoever the team leader was, I'd be like, all right, here are your 10 videos you have to make. It'll take you probably 2 hours to make it. It's raw. It's not going on YouTube. It's just internal. So once they built that out, then we can add agents to Nashville. We can add agents to Kentucky. We can add agents to Jacksonville. So that became really scalable fast. And that's probably what happened. And then when people went through it, I didn't know. I was like, I think it's cool. It seems like it. I understand it. When we had agents go through it and then end up selling $7 or $8 million in the year in volume, that's when it was kind of a big moment of, oh, it worked. Now we can just finesse it, always make it better. You can change it all the time. So that was the big moment for us of like, oh, now we have a nice system in place of training people.
Nice. So now,
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you definitely have kind of your, spiel in place. Like, let's say, I'm sure there's agents watching this call or that will watch this call in the future as well. That let's say they were like, hey, you know what? That was a really cool dude. I like Mark, I like his style. Like maybe I would want to join his team. Like,
Yeah.
what would you say to an agent now? This is a two-part question. The first part though is what would you say to an agent that would be, looking to join your team when they ask you that question now about what do you guys provide?
Sure. So I treat it being a team leader the same as being a real estate agent. So when I first started, I would go sit with a buyer or a seller and I would just ramble. I talk a lot and I have a lot of things in my brain going. And sometimes I can't form a sentence. But as an actor, I'm very good at having some kind of script or an outline or something, a guide, right? So I made a nice PowerPoint presentation, how to sell your home, how to buy your home, and I used it. It was very simple, and it was just talking points.
Yep.
So when we created the team, and after my friends joined, and they were going to join kind of regardless, I thought, oh, I need something else. So again, I spent a couple weeks building out a nice slide deck with visual. I'm very visual too, so it has what we provide, all the splits, the expectations of what it is, what you can make on our team if you sell this many homes, all that stuff. So I just sit on a Zoom call or in person if it's in Orlando, and I just talk them. Takes about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and I talk them through it, and then that's really it. We also did what we did last year, or 2020, 2021 and 2022. What helped is that we did twice a year we do a boot camp. So instead of just like bringing agents on whenever, which felt very chaotic to me because you're getting phone calls all the time. You're like, what part of the process are you in learning real estate? We just brought them on in January and in July, and we did 2 weeks, and it was a group project. We'd have some of them around here. They would do, some people were in Nashville, some people were in Orlando, and we would basically meet every morning. They'd watch our videos, we'd discuss it, and then I always know, like, usually training an agent takes about 6 months total before they kind of stop calling you about basic stuff. Right. And that's even expedited, I feel like.
Yep.
but for us, so I was like, okay, I can have 6 months with this group, and then they should be good by the next time 6 months happens. So that was what we did for the last 2 years. This year, we feel like we have a good base of agents that are selling. So we're actually more focused on the agents on our team. I was like, I don't want to be a rotating team, which
Yeah.
is hard because you always want to, recruit.
Right.
But I was like, but our agents now are super good, and I
Mhm.
don't want to use their revenue and resources to basically replace them if they're not going anywhere.
Mhm.
So it's always about adapting and trying to figure out what the best move is, and those are the ones you keep me up at night. You're like, is this the right decision? I don't know. Like, am I stunting my growth,
Yeah.
or But I think the structure of the boot camp was really helpful.
Yeah. No, that definitely sounds like it is. Now,
Yeah.
the second part of that question is kind of like more geared towards then, since you've also seen, agents come on your team, you've seen, agents that maybe weren't quite the right fit, and you've probably
Mhm.
interviewed a lot more too. Like,
Yeah.
what type of agent is right to be on a team? Like, because I know they are interviewing you, like, because they're paying you money, like you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier. But at the same time, like, you're looking for certain qualities too. And like, and you kind of know probably at this point, like, who's going to usually make it, or like, long term on a team. Like
Yeah.
what's the characteristics of somebody who can, be a good person on on your team that you've seen?
Yeah, that's the hard part about for me. I don't know, I'm a pretty passionate person, so that's kind of been it's been a detrimental to my business, but also a positive. So whenever I meet with somebody, I just know that they're going to be amazing. And when they maybe aren't, or it's not a right fit. Real estate in general isn't the right fit. It used to crush me, because it's sad. I was like, oh, I had so many hope. You talked to me about all these goals and dreams, and I was going to help you, and now you just don't want to do it.
Yep.
um, and then I go back to the stat of, what is it, 87% of agents
Yep.
drop their license after 2 years,
Yep.
and then of the 13%, only 1% actually make a living doing it.
Yep.
So it's a really hard industry to be in. But I can usually tell, now that I've talked to enough agents, I can usually tell within 10 or 15 minutes, to be honest, if they're going to be a successful, like, producing agent, or if they're going to be a top producing agent. Now, I think I'm going to speak from, if you're an agent looking to join a team, there's so many different types. If you're a person that needs to kind of be told what to do, if you come from a job that's like task oriented, then I would probably look for a team that takes a higher split, but you kind of have to be somewhere every day, and they give you maybe leads, right? And they're like, you have to call these people, these are your tasks. If that's, again, nobody really gets into real estate when they're 18, right? So whatever whatever world you already know, you should try to adapt that into your real estate world. So if it's corporate tasks, right? If you had that job where you went 9 to 5, but you don't want that, you don't necessarily want that structure, but you want some freedom, but you still need structure. I would go to a team, and that's not us because I came from a different world. So, or if you're like, you know what, I want to be on a team because I don't want to order signs or worry about social media marketing or CRMs, or I still want a lot of stuff taken care of for me, but I also don't need to be told what to do. Then there's hybrid teams like me that I call myself a hybrid team, right? Like
Mhm.
halfway single agent. Like our perfect agent is a single agent doesn't want to like stress about running a business.
Yeah.
They just want to sell homes, but they also don't want to run a team.
Yep.
They don't want to manage people. They don't want to. They don't want people to rely on them. So that's kind of the perfect. If you're again, but that's people coming maybe from like entrepreneurs or people that didn't have any kind of structure that are good, like kind of like this organized chaos. That's what my life is, organized chaos. It just fits. You like know what's going on, but at the same time, it's just a lot of noise. So, but that's how I thrive, and a lot of our agents thrive in that way as well. We'll just be like, it just feels crazy, but we know what's going on at all times.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Okay.
Now, I don't know, and just share what you're comfortable sharing, like numbers wise. But as far as like the team goes, like let's talk a little about like how many agents are officially on your team, and then like I guess in how many different markets are you in, and then I guess also like how do you, because like as far as like production and stuff, I know you said you're on like you have agents on a 70-30 split.
Mhm.
Talk a little bit about like, kind of the
Team
numbers, the
structure.
financials
Yeah.
of the business, if you don't mind.
So let me do this. Orlando is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 including me in Orlando, 2 in Louisville, 2 in Jacksonville, and then Nashville is, I believe it is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in Nashville.
Nice.
So what is that? 7 plus 2, 9 plus 1, 10.
Yeah.
So 24,
Yep.
24 agents.
Yep.
Um, so it's all structured a little different. Nashville's kind of doing their own thing. Steve's on it. Steve's my team leader out there. So our structure is a little different. It's more of a franchise situation. So it's a smaller split up there. And then he pays me a monthly fee to have all the stuff, all the systems, all the processes. I built out the website and the CRM and all that stuff. So now he takes more financial liability for the team. And then coaches them, trains them. He basically is the team leader using the brand, which is
Gotcha.
super cool. We figured that out last year.
That's
It works really well. It takes the pressure off me. He has the relationship with those agents, and he should be the one that makes the decisions. In Louisville and Kentucky, those are the two cities we're not in. Those it's Kelly and Jennifer, and they're kind of those single agents I was just talking about. They're like, I don't want to manage a team. I don't want to be a single agent because I've been there. I want the support. I want a group project, but also don't get in my way.
yep.
Right. So it works out a perfect situation where I just kind of like buy the stuff and do the stuff and tell them what's happening, give them options like, hey, we're thinking about spending this money on this lead generation or this lead magnet. Like, what are your thoughts? And like, let's do that one. Okay, great. Let's try it for 6 months. So it's more of that kind of situation. And they're on a 70, everybody's on a 70-30 split, right? So, and the Orlando team, everybody's on 70-30. Now, what I did put in the team as well is a kind of, we treat it similar to a bonus. So, and it helps grow the team internally and lets people take ownership of the other team members somewhat. So if somebody brings on an agent that I didn't know personally, helps them come onto the team, then of that 30%, it's similar to any kind of revenue share or profit share, right? From that 30%, we take 5% and pay out the referring agent
Oh, that's
within the
cool.
team. Yeah. So and they all know, everybody's aware of it. Nobody,
Yeah.
because it's coming from the home squad split. It's not, nobody's making less money except for us, but it's worth it in the long run. So, for instance, I don't know if they're watching, but Rob and Jonathan, Rob brought on Jonathan. Jonathan, I think, sold 8 million in real estate last year. Somewhat, he had an awesome year. Rob made about, I want to say like 12 grand, right, from him. So ultimately, what that does is it's that's $1,000 a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
so that it just offsets your sales. It
Yep.
keeps him invested in Jonathan's success. It creates this whole team. Jonathan now has brought on a few agents on our team, Donna and Gavin, and so when they have a good month, he gets a couple $1,000. So it's that whole thing of like, okay, we'll go, if you want people to join the team, they have to be cool, right? Like you got to be a cool person and not a jerk. And if they sell homes, like you should benefit from it.
Yep.
Like why am I the only one that gets to benefit if you bring a good agent onto the team?
Yep.
To me, that doesn't make any sense
Yep.
overall. Then they're just going to go start their own team and be like, you're just taking like
Yep.
all the opportunity away, like
Yep.
all of it. So that's worked out pretty well. But yeah, that's what the structure is. So really we run the team on a 25% referral fee, to be
Yeah.
honest. But
Yeah.
again, when you sell 107 million in volume,
Mhm.
you can, it's different than we sat down with Rob and said, we'll give you a couple signs in a lockbox, right? Now we have a lot. We
Yeah.
have a lot. So, and the more we sell, the more agents we add, the more we can add as well. So, it's good. But yeah, we were always obsessed with making sure the agent makes more money than the team leader.
Yeah, no, I love it. Well, real quick, we still definitely got some more. I got some more questions I want to ask you, but
Cool.
guys, if y'all are getting some value out of this, make sure to drop a like on the video, and if you haven't already subscribed yet, subscribe to the channel. And by the way, this would be a good time too, just to kind of talk real quick about Mark. As far as to follow you, what are some of the best channels that people can see like what you're doing? Because here's the part we haven't gotten into. Coming from your acting background, some of the videos that you've made over the years. And some of your team members have made over the years they've gone viral. Like you've had some really
Yeah.
cool videos that you guys have produced. But where would somebody find more about, your team and about you specifically?
Sure. Well, each market has their own Instagram. So Orlando Home Squad at Orlando Home Squad, at Nashville, is it Nashville _Home Squad? And then the agents, Jennifer O'Brien and Kelly Saxon in Jacksonville. And then our YouTube is the Orlando Home Squad. That's our main YouTube. We do a lot of YouTube. Nashville has its own YouTube. Facebook, we're on Facebook, right? But yeah, I mean, we try to do all the TikTok, we're on TikTok. We try to do all the platforms, and we have team sites and team things, but we also, for Instagram especially, we really push the agents to have their own brand on that, to stand on the Home Squad like platform and then shout it from there, as opposed to just being an agent on the Home Squad.
Mhm.
The Home Squad is my team, but this is
Right.
me, who I am.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen that too. I mean, it's funny to see, like, I mean, I know each of like, your agents have kind of, this like character, like persona, like you actually like draw up like a kind of a
Yeah.
cartoon image of, but it
Yep.
is funny to see like they all have different personalities, like, and their
Completely.
personalities actually like align with their
Yeah.
character. It's really
Well, that's their
funny, man.
branding. They brand themselves, and we just give them a logo and let them run with it. And it's been fun. We
Wow.
call it, the idea came from the Avengers, right? So I always thought that was a really cool brand, and I think it's cool that they all have their own like identity outside of the Marvel brand. Like
Yeah.
Spider-Man has his own movies, Iron Man has his own movies, Captain America is my favorite. So I just thought in my head, I was like, well, the real estate team, like people are going to have their favorite, and they should have their own identity, So that's where that came from.
I love it. I love it. Well, one of the things that I want to jump into is a little bit about, because your team is built, differently in the sense that you guys are displaced. Y'all, you have a lot of people in Orlando, but you also have agents and teams in other markets. And
Mhm.
I'd love to just kind of hear maybe some of the challenges that's presented and maybe some of the ways that you've overcome those challenges. But like, I don't think there's a lot of people who have built teams that are not local, but have
Yeah.
the opportunity that maybe they would like to do that because they know good agents in different areas. What have been some of the things that you've had to do to be able to build a team that's not all in one area?
Yeah, I think it's all relationship based. So the Steve in Nashville, we've known each other for 22 years. He's used to be a singer, so we used to do shows together. So I kind of recruited him to real estate 6 years ago, and he was in Nashville and we were on separate teams, to be honest, this whole time. Like we were kind of with the same brokerage for a minute, and then he went to another brokerage and I went to a different brokerage, and we would always I would call each other and like talk shop. And so when the Home Squad happened, Jennifer in Kentucky was on our previous team with KW. And when we thought, hey, let's let's figure this out with her so we can have a different city. Like she kind of knows like we don't know what we're doing. So we'll figure it out with her, a group project, right? And it worked and it just made sense. And she was completely self-sufficient. So when it came to Steve in Nashville, again, a dear friend, it was a pretty easy transition and we were pretty transparent, but it was one of those things where he was like, hey, I will really want to start a team, but I don't have the resources. I don't have the liquid funds right now. I don't have the structure. And then I was like, well, why don't you just join the team? It's like, join our team, join the team. You can be Nashville Home Squad. That just is cool, right? He's
Yep.
like, that is cool. I don't have to think of a name. I don't have to get a logo. The social media is already there. We can just basically double down on it. So, but I trusted him. And then Kelly in Jacksonville, um, Donna in Orlando actually used to live in Jacksonville. So she took advantage of that. Hey, I found somebody who'd be a good fit, but she's in Jacksonville. So I met with Kelly for a few times to make sure that she understood because that was the first person I didn't know, right? That I didn't know in a different city. But it wasn't like I wasn't interviewing her. I was just making sure he's like, hey, there's going to be things that come up that it's not polished yet, or every market's different. You're basically a single agent that you're going to pay me 30%, and then I'll buy some stuff and give you support, and we pay for transaction management. We pay for, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it in the other cities, it's really the only way it'll work is if you find somebody who is a single agent but doesn't want to run a business or run a team, or somebody that wants to be on a team or wants to start a team, but they don't have the structure in place, or it's expensive.
Yep.
It's really expensive to start. It's like, I always say, like, we could have bought probably 3 different rental properties. Instead, we bought like a real estate team. You know what I mean? That people might stay or go. I don't know.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's expensive. So
Yep.
those are the people that if you're moving in other cities, you have to have that real conversation of like, hey, look, I can give you all, but you have to have all the systems in place. You can't just start throwing darts at a board and be like, ooh, cool, San Antonio, like that's a cool city. I want to visit. Like, I don't actually go to the cities. Like, I don't go to Nashville. What am I going to teach them? You know
Yep.
what I mean? I don't know anything about Tennessee real estate. So you have to have those people in place
Yep.
to do that. That's really the only way it's worked.
Yeah. Well, and I think you bring up a point too, just about like the costs involved with having a team. It's like I remember, even running my team, it was like, and this was before like cloud based was really a big thing, and
Sure.
expansion teams. Like I was running my team in like 2014, 15, 16, 17, and like and the only way to really build a team back then was you had to have overhead, you had to have like an office and staff and all this
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you are starting a team, that's just something to be said right there as far as like trying to keep your expenses as low as possible. I mean, yes, you want to provide value, but you got to do it in an efficient way. And I think that your team does an amazing job of that. That's why you're able to grow, give opportunity to your agents, and still be able to, turn a profit and make it worthwhile because, the things that you're invested in are producing, right? Like you're not just throwing money against, Google pay per click and hoping
Right.
that, agents are good enough to, close those deals on their own. And if not, you're footing the bill for it. And like, you got an office and over it. Like all of those things were mistakes that I made, growing my team. It's like, man, if I were to, do this over again, I would certainly do it, kind of exactly the way that you've done it. And so I think that's awesome. Just the fact
Thanks.
that you,
Well,
you
yeah, I mean, the biggest, you can only teach what you know, and you can only recreate what you've done. You know what I mean? So I was never like, I didn't like the Google PPC avenue of like, here's like 100 leagues, sit down here and call for 8 hours. And I did that and it works. Don't get me wrong. I just didn't like it. So I was like making myself, and you choose to be in real estate. Nobody's like, you will be a real estate agent. Like everybody is like, this is what I want to do. And I want to see if I'm good at it because of all these reasons. Right.
Yep.
So if I'm going to choose to do something, then I should like doing it. And that I just didn't like doing. So
Yep.
it's not part of my team structure. My agents don't really they understand they have to call people and make relationships and lead gen and all that stuff. Right. But people can lead gen at the soccer game, or they can lead gen wherever, you know what I mean? And at
Yep.
the playground, you can do that. So, but again, it's hard. That keeps the cost down, but also like, then you have to spend it somewhere else. And
Yep.
it's not cheap.
Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, definitely not,
Yeah.
definitely not. No, very, very interesting. Yeah, so talk a little bit about maybe just like, where's your mind at today? Like, what are your goals for this year? What are your focuses for this year? Like, where do you see the biggest opportunity in real estate right now for growth for 2023?
Sure. Well, I think 23 is going to be a hard year for a lot of us. I
Yeah.
think that just the market is not 2021 when a lot of people got into it, and that's when even our team took off. I feel like we all kind of won the lottery. Like looking back, whether you're new or seasoned, you look back at your income, you're like, well, that was crazy,
Yeah.
right? Was that great? Even though it was stressful and competitive, like
Yeah.
there was just opportunity
Yeah.
because people were just buying and selling. And then 2022 had that moment for a while, and then now
Yeah.
we're here, and I'm seeing it on the team, and I'm seeing it in the industry, and I research and listen and try to educate myself multiple times a day. I just think we're not going to maybe make as much money as we did 2 years ago, and I think the mindset needs to be that's okay.
Yeah.
Like it's still okay. Like it's like every business maybe have a down year. Don't like expect it and be excited about it.
Yeah.
Like work hard and try to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But I think real estate agents we're trained and to talk about volume and talk about
Mhm.
units, and that basically gives you your purpose is like what it is and your goals, and it's important to have those. But I think if we don't hit what we hit last year or beat it, if we don't beat what we did last year, then it's a failure.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to keep be grounded this year and just keep your head down and do what you're supposed to do, the basics, right? Of like just talking to people, building relationships, asking the right questions, helping people the best way you can, even if it's them maybe not selling because they can't afford the up move. You know what I mean? Because their house is going to be the same the
Yep.
monthly cost. That's valuable though, and even though that you don't get a paycheck, it's still a win because they're going to appreciate that in 2024, 2025, right?
Yep.
So I think that's the mindset of where I am right now. Like, let's just see how it plays out. Let's see how the cards fall because it might not be as awesome as it was 2 years ago or even last year. It still can be awesome and still like be smart about it. And I think the opportunity, maybe a crack in the crevice is social media, but not generic social media, right? Not like I think the just listed, just sold stuff. I think that's gross. You know what I mean? And I've
Yep.
done it a lot.
Yep.
I think ultimately we had so much success in 2021 and 2022 that people were they're tired of it. You know what I
Yep.
mean? The general public and the sphere, and this is me personally. I'm not saying
Uh,
this isn't advice. this is
yeah.
my
Yeah.
this is
No.
my this is my window of crack. And I think the opportunity is to provide value of like what it's like to live where you're selling. Like the lifestyle of what it is. And our Orlando team has done it, our Nashville team, our Louisville team's about to do it, Jacksonville team's about to do it. But Orlando team is already like waist deep in it. And it's like when you move somewhere, whether it's even in town, you go there and you like look at the neighborhood. You look how far away like the commute is and the grocery store, and like are there restaurants around? Like how's the neighborhood walkability? And that's something you can't find on a video tour. It's not
Mhm.
something you can find on my website, like on the MLS or the Zillow or Realtor.com. You can't find all that stuff. So I think there's a nice little pocket of content we can make that you can really niche down and do like a nice neighborhood tour of like not the homes, like everybody has access to these homes now. It's
Right.
not a secret that there's granite countertops in every home.
Right.
It's not, we're not special. So I think it's cool for me. I think it's cool to be like, hey, this is this neighborhood. There's actually no playground at all, and I have 4 kids, so that's a big deal. So maybe that's not the neighborhood for me, even though I love that house. I don't know if that's the opportunity that I want. Is there something similar? So I think that's a cool opportunity that agents have. And if it slows down, if this industry market slows down, which it feels like it is somewhat, right? Take that opportunity instead of getting frustrated, seize that opportunity, be like, I'm going to do these 3 videos every Tuesday, even if it's like 40 homes in the neighborhood. Just do it,
Yeah.
put it out there, and everything's searchable these days.
Yep.
Instagram, YouTube, right?
Yep.
So that's where I think that there's a crack.
Yep. I agree. I agree. Content, as far as like valuable, helpful content, unique perspective,
Yep.
becoming kind of, a micro influencer, so to speak, in your local, neck of the woods. Like I think
Yeah.
that is the big opportunity. We've already seen it. I mean, here just in the last year, some of the agents on the team, here with me, it's like I'm seeing their growth, and it's all because of social media and creating the content that's hyper local. It's helpful to people either looking to relocate into the area,
Mhm.
or people that are in that area but maybe just kind of moving to a different neighborhood, moving up, whatever.
Yep.
So
And don't let them forget that you sell real estate. That's the whole
Yeah.
point too. You can't just
Yep.
become a neighborhood guru without saying like, and I can also help you buy this house.
E
That's the
exactly.
fine line, but you got to keep doing that. But yeah, there's a cool opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I love it. Well, Mark, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate, you coming on here, you dropping a ton of knowledge bombs on
Yeah.
everybody. And just, it's funny because I looked at, I think at the height of this, we had like over 30 some odd people on the stream.
That's cool.
And
That's
so you were crushing it, man. People came, they wanted to hear you.
fun.
And so you delivered for sure. Really, really thankful that you were able to do that here. I want to real quick just see if there was any questions, if you don't mind, if you got like 5
Oh
more
yeah.
minutes real quick,
Yep.
just
I'm
to,
good.
let me go through here. Jamie says, how did you come up with your value stack as a team leader? And with what did you decide to provide to your team leaders? I don't know if you can, yeah.
Yeah. Jamie. I think the value stack was definitely, I already have all these systems in place. It took me, I'd even say like just like Trainual alone I have a blueprint of what they need to do. And then they could basically build out their own team from that. And they could have even the slide deck I have to like bring on an agent, they use. You know what I mean? So I built out everything. They basically just plug right in and be like, hey, this is my team in Nashville. This is what we provide. This is what it is. And then go from there. And then again, Steve on the franchise model, he just gets to make, now he makes more. He has a bigger commission split or smaller with us, but he has more to pay for. And but I mean, I would say like, stack wise, the cartoon logo. Well, yeah, the brand. I mean, yeah, I think the brand is pretty different, and we've had people not join the team because of the cartoon, but overall, like they can go wear a suit and sell a home, I guess.
Rob Steck says the Home Squad sounds like a superhero group.
For those who are watching, Rob's the guy that we recruited over a beer in our living room.
I love it. Dyra says, is Mark with EXP? Yes. She's got a Florida agent who may be interested in joining.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting.
connect us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you say, Mark, is the best way to get in touch with you if somebody does want to either potentially partner or has somebody maybe they think might be a good partner?
I'd say just social media is always kind of easy and loose. You know what I mean? So find me on Instagram. It's mark.raumaker, and then just DM me.
Yeah.
Or my email is mark@orlandohomesquad.com. I
All
mean,
right.
I think you can. I think now it's so funny. You just Google people, real estate agents, and their cell phones are everywhere.
That's the thing is, yeah, if you can't find how to contact a real estate agent,
Yeah,
like
I feel
probably
like then that agent should not join my
yeah,
team if you
yeah,
can't
well,
figure out how to contact me.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Kathy says, do your agents have a cap on the 70-30 split?
Good question. No, we've talked about that with some of the agents, and no, ultimately, I think if they cap, then it becomes more of a brokerage feel, and their value's only so much, and then we don't provide anything else. So it's cool about all these. We're all in brokerages, right? And I've been with 2 capped brokerages, and they can only pay for so much. Then it becomes more about quantity
Yeah.
as opposed to quality, right? So if somebody only pays me $10,000 a year or whatever, then I have to find 100 of him as opposed to like, let's figure out your personal business. So that's why we've decided not to cap.
I agree. I think that's very smart. Let's see. Jamie says, it's okay. The last few years were unprecedented. Yep. Will likely not happen again
Yep.
in terms of the crazy sales volume. She says he's on the dream team. Let's see. Kathy says, thank you. We'll finish watching after my appointment. Great content. Awesome. And then
Facebook.
Jamie says, you're the bomb. All right. Love it. Well, that gets us through all our questions. So, but yeah, thank you again, Mark. I really appreciate you jumping on. And I'm actually excited for those that don't know, I'm jumping on Mark's podcast on Friday. And so we'll have some more content to bring out. I guess we're going to, the table.
I'm going to ask Kyle. Kyle's never interviewed. So he's always the interviewee. He's always just talking. Yeah, I have a new podcast coming out called the Real Estate Ninja Podcast. So I have you. I have Jamie's going to be on it. Go from EXP. So I have some big people coming up. So I'm excited. I want to unpack some cool stuff from people. So
I'm excited to be on it. So yeah, so be on the lookout for that. But Mark, thank you again. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and I'll be talking to you here soon. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. And
thanks, guys.
And if you have any questions or any comments that you want, leave them in the comments below, and I'll definitely get back to you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We do a live stream usually every Tuesday. Today was Wednesday, but that was on my fault. But usually every Tuesday we do a live stream where we bring in a special guest, or I'll have a topic that I'm covering. And so you definitely won't want to miss it. So make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Thank you guys so much. Have a great week. Talk to you later. Bye bye.
Bye.